Hey, welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm Bruce Waller, your host, and I'm excited. I get to talk with leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our community. What did they do to get started? And what are they doing to stay there? And oh my goodness, are you in for a treat today as I'm bringing you another special guest? As today I'm getting to visit with Jeff Williams. Jeff is the president and CEO at Graham Associates. He's also a former mayor of the city of Arlington and the new author of his best-selling book, The Unity Blueprint. And Jeff, I'm so excited to have you on the show. How you doing?
Bruce, doing great. Looking forward to visiting with you. Always love to talk about leadership.
Absolutely. And I do too. And I always like to start the show reflecting on when I met my guests or when they came into my path. And I've had about 240 episodes and we haven't actually met in person, but your book caught my attention and I am very, very excited to visit with you about that. But before we do that, I always like for my guests just to share a brief highlight of Graham and Associates. Talk a little bit about your company and how you serve your customers.
Well, we are civil engineers and we love to be an integral partner in building communities. And I love that to create special places for people to go and come together. And I built my career around bringing people together and making things happen in a good way in their city. And so I've enjoyed my profession. And then I was recruited to serve as mayor and ran for mayor and came in. We had some pretty major things to try to accomplish. One, we needed to keep the Texas Rangers in our community. We're home
Mm.
to the Major League Baseball's Texas Rangers, and there are only 30 cities who have a Major League ball team there. And we had a lot of other cities trying to recruit them to come to their city, and I can't blame them. So we needed to keep them here. We also needed to really move out on our entertainment district here in our community and do a better job of bringing jobs into our community. But perhaps, Bruce, one of the most challenging things that was there before me was that we were becoming an international city.
Mm.
We were the 11th most diverse city in America, and now we're the fourth most diverse city in America. And the reason for that is the University of Texas has a large campus here, 44,000 students, and they very actively recruit international students. They come to Arlington, they love it here, and they stay. And we needed to be sure we were visiting and that we were welcoming them. So we started a kindness campaign and to be intentional about reaching out to people that didn't look like me or that might even speak another native language there. And it's been awesome. Our school children started it, and it's just taken off from there.
That's fantastic. I appreciate you sharing that. I've actually got the opportunity to speak with the SHRM students at the University of Texas in Arlington. Love the campus. Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, I want to back up just a little bit. I would love to know, like, did you grow up in the city of Arlington? And what I want to know is what led you to want to be in politics, to be the mayor of Arlington?
Well, I grew up about an hour and a half north of Arlington, Texas, in a small town by the name of Sherman. And I went to an even smaller high school and just loved it. Everybody knew each other. We all had to pitch in to make things happen. And in fact, I love growing up in a small town, but my father and mother brought me to Texas Ranger baseball games and the
Mm.
Six Flags amusement park in Arlington when I was growing up. Had an aunt and uncle that lived here, and I thought that is such a fun city. And so my wife and I chose Arlington to raise our kids. We
Mm.
both had great memories of Arlington when we were children, and just thought this is the place we want to raise our kids. And then, no, it was not on my radar screen to run for mayor. But however, I had served as chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and chairman of the board of several nonprofits because
Okay.
I believe it's so important to be giving back. And they came and said, "Look, you have been recruiting businesses to your projects. You know our city well, you know the people, and we have got to get busy and keep the Rangers and bring our city together." We have a nickname for Arlington, and we didn't name us this, but the surrounding cities call us the Can Do City.
Hmm.
And it's because we bring people together to make things happen. And that was in danger because of so many people moving in and not knowing each other. And we had to get to work and recognize that we needed to get to know our neighbor and so we could continue working together.
And then I saw you got a degree and got an award actually from the Texas Tech University for civil engineering. Is that correct?
It is. I'm a distinguished engineer from Texas Tech, and
Yeah.
even my university, that's one of the things they're known for is to work together
Yeah.
and the opportunities there in business to make such a difference when everyone is rowing together.
Yeah. I love that. We're going to talk about rowing together. You just got through publishing your new book, The Unity Blueprint. I do want to talk about your book. It's bestseller. Got bestseller right off the bat, so that's exciting. I remember when my book Drive with Purpose got that little tag that says best-selling new release, and I was like, it's very energizing. How do you feel?
Well, I'm very excited. Forbes published the book, and they shared with me when they asked me to write the book that unity is something that Americans are wanting. They're not
Yeah,
doing much to create it, but they do want it, and we've seen that kind of interest. And of course, for myself and in both my business and in working with nonprofits, unity has been a key to success. Bringing people together, finding that purpose, Bruce, and we're kindred spirits there. I think that's one of the most important things leaders can do is to build a bridge between people and a purpose.
I had a good friend of mine share on the podcast one time. They have a saying in their office, and the saying is, "It's easy and it's hard." And when you talk about building a bridge, it's really easy to do, bring people together, but it's really hard to do. And so I want to kind of dive in this, and again, I'm excited to dive into your book and just kind of your perspective around bringing people together. Before we kind of dive into a couple of my questions, I would love to ask you, is there a part of the book or a section that people are starting to talk about saying, I really like this, or a part of your book that you really feel like stands out? Talk about that for a second.
Well, without a doubt, I think making a plan is what people are talking about.
Yeah,
How many times do we see a someone get promoted to manager or perhaps even CEO, and they're very excited, but yet they just plunge right into just taking their meetings, taking their phone calls and emails, and never making a plan. And yet, a general wouldn't go into battle without a plan, would he? Football coach wouldn't go into a football game without a game.
yeah,
And yet, that is a step that's missed. And certainly, elected officials many times do not have a plan. And so, that has been the a big thing that people have talked about is making a plan. I call it map it. Isn't a map gives us direction, it shows us the best route for us to go. Well, a plan does that. But when you develop your plan, the next step is so important. You take that plan to the people, to your employees. You take that plan to your stakeholders.
yeah,
You actually listen and value them and be willing to change that plan when a good idea comes. And when it's not such a good idea, you as a leader needs to be responsible enough to have studied and analyzed to be able to say that, hey, that's not a great idea because of, and share with them why, but then encourage them to go out and come back with another idea.
yeah,
And then it's amazing. Then suddenly that is not my plan, it's our plan. And we have ambassadors then to reach out and really move out to make that plan reality.
yeah. I love that. Let me ask you this. I have a lot of business leaders that listen to the show, and many of them are in HR. They're in the talent acquisition. They're in mobility, and playing significant roles in their company. And you talk about planning. I mean, everybody's busy, busy, busy. We're busy. Share a couple of tips that I don't know that maybe help you. Like, what does your planning of the week look like? Do you spend a lot of time on it or is it something that you've put together a system and it doesn't take much time? Talk just for a second about planning and just kind of give the listeners a couple of tips.
Well, you've got to continue to plan your week out. It's worth taking a few hours there to plan out your week. And the reason for that, there are always so many things that come up that you need to recognize the things that are important and keep the noise away. And when I talk
Mm.
about the noise, life happens, it comes at you hard. You've got to be sure that you keep the tasks that move you towards your goals at the top of the list. Because many times you can look back at your week if you don't plan. And yes, you were productive, you did a lot, but you weren't productive. And that is so important to remain productive and stick with your plan because you can't move your business ahead if all you're doing is meeting with vendors who have great products that are coming out or people that are in need asking your help. You've got to take care of those things, but you've got to keep them in check. They've got to be held to a right proportion of your schedule because we all need to give back. And then, of course, we all have storms that come up too, and
Yeah.
that's another thing that can get you off track. So pay attention to your plan.
Yeah. I will tell you, that's probably when my career really took off when I started being a better planner in my early 30s. And I had a leader in our organization that said, plan your work and work your plan. And I made an intentional effort to be a better planner, and I continue today to work on that. Hey, I want to. You had posted something on your social media, and I had taken a screenshot of that, and I want to read these five things you talked about when it comes to unity. And I want to just kind of dive into one of these. You mentioned break bread with someone different than you, lean into difficult conversations with curiosity, listen to understand, not just to respond. Have many HR leaders talk about that. That's a secret of building trust. Extending grace to one another. I love that, and praying for one another. I want to leaning into difficult conversations with curiosity. And I'm curious, like, I mean, as the mayor, I'm sure that you had some tough conversations. And for those who are listening, I don't know, maybe share some things. Maybe you shared some things in the book that might be helpful, but talk about the importance of difficult conversations and how we can navigate through that.
Well, I think before you even start the conversation, I think it's important that we recognize as leaders that we need people. If there's no one working with us or following us, we can go nowhere.
Hmm.
And so I think leaders have to value people. And then people know that. They can recognize if you value them or not. And so you need to go into conversations, and in fact, even difficult conversations, knowing that one, this person does have value. You also need to try to understand where they're coming from so that you can see whether or not it's even you that is the difficulty or whether or not there's something else going on in their lives. But then asking questions of them to try to get to where you need to be with them and understand what they're doing. And so that's where that curiosity comes from.
Mm.
You've got to ask the right questions to really know what they really want because many times, especially when it's a difficult situation, people have trouble verbalizing that. And
Mm.
you need to actually know enough about the situation to be able to help. And then also, there's another very important thing because sometimes the difficult conversation is happening because they have something traumatic that has happened in their life. It may be such that they are just not going to be happy and because they've got something else that's happening. And we need to know all of that. But then it is magical when you can really get to the bottom of finding out what they really need and then to be able to try to solve it. And we as leaders want to do that, but then I think we've got to recognize there are times when we can't help them with their problem and we need to direct them the right direction. because we can't solve every problem that is there, but we can point them in the right direction and to try to help that. I had a very meaningful thing, Bruce, if you'll bear with me to share this, that I had a young man that he was unhappy all the time, but I was convinced that I was gonna help him and move him in the right direction. And he wanted to speak with me and the chief of police, and so I got my chief of police. We met with him. We tackled his topic. We thought we had resolved it, and then he went on to something else, and we were never the meeting ended. We were all frustrated. It was and the my chief of police said, Mayor, how many people are in this town? I said 400,000. He said, I think that you and I just neglected about 1,000 people through a wasted conversation here with a young man who he doesn't care about solving the problems. He is just interested in the attention that he gets. And he said, he said, I don't want to speak out of turn, but you're a new mayor, and I just want to share with you there's going to be people coming that you can't help.
Mm,
And then yet I know you want to help them. So invest your time in people that want to be helped.
mm.
And that was so valuable to me there because I couldn't get to everyone, but yet even today, I have a lot of people coming and asking me to mentor them and help them. I try to pick the ones that really do want to learn and willing to put in the time to improve themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that story. That's a great story because I was actually thinking about a couple different things and that I've got on my mind. The first thing is I'm curious, were you, when I said curious, were you always have you always been curious, or is that a skill that people can build? And then were you always able, have you always been able to have difficult conversations, or is that something you've had to also work on? Share maybe something that might be helpful to our listeners around working on your skills for difficult conversations and being more curious.
Well, I was not always curious. I was raised as a problem solver. My mom and dad were that kind of persons. And then as an engineer, I'm being paid to solve problems. So
Yeah.
many times I didn't sit back and listen. I was ready to propose the solution before I really had all of the facts. And so I've had to sit back and go, wait, I need to know everything up here before I sit there and propose issues. And then I very purposely had to learn to listen, to understand,
Mm,
and not to listen to respond. That I didn't need to be thinking about what I was going to say without really listening to that person and what they were saying. So I've had to work at it to become that kind of person because it has been a huge value to me, because then the people understand that I truly am trying to help the situation and not just move on and move to the next conversation. Now, how did that happen? I think one of the things that did help is growing up in a small town and now being in a large town with very diverse people. It's complicated. People are complicated. And
mm,
so trying to find out where they're coming from, being curious about what their story is, being curious
mm.
about what they want to have happen is such a great service to any leader, and asking those key questions that are not threatening to the person, but that they will open up and truly share with you what they are really thinking is so valuable.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's going to help a lot of people. I'm curious. So let's kind of dive in. Like how like share maybe a couple more things that you share in the book, and people can pick the book up. Of course, I'll put the link in the show notes. Some tips on how do you bring, as leaders, how do you bring people together? Because I think that's one of the things that today we're trying to figure out. We have remote work, we have hybrid work, and now all of a sudden we're trying to figure out how do we get people to lean into the mission of the organization and just really bring people together and inspire people. Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. I'll just take it down to where any business would be able to use. But I had a challenge when I left. I termed out as mayor and was coming back to the engineering firm that I owned. And I had a lot of experienced engineers, but I knew I needed to hire some young engineers and to mentor them. And
Mm,
so I studied all I could get my hands on because we have two things happening in our world that are changing it. One is that we're at the beginning of a technology revolution like the world has never seen.
yeah.
And so technology is a part of it, but also we are in the midst of societal shifts all the time. Society shifts maybe every month sometimes, things
Mm,
change. And I knew we needed to create a culture in my firm that would be inviting to all ages. And so we basically, one of the things I read about the fact that people want to work remotely, but however, to get them in the office, you need to create an atmosphere in an office because they do appreciate an inviting office and one that really promotes collaboration. Well, in engineering, it's critical to work as teams. So I gutted our offices. I brought in a young millennial designer, interior designer, to come in and we redid the offices to create collaboration areas. We then also changed the walls to where we created positive phrases there that were motivational, such as our team supports and encourages one another. Just
mm,
to, it makes a statement when they first see it, but subliminally in all of our commons areas, we have encouraging statements that are made there. We started in a Friday meeting. It's a hour-long staff meeting where everyone comes together, and we call it our high five meeting, where we can celebrate each other, something
mm,
that happened during that week that made a difference, and we call it, say, hey, I want to give a high five to so and so because. We also have a time in that meeting to what we call for an employee to give a nugget, something they learned that week that they think may help the company.
mm,
And usually those are not the managers necessarily; it's the people they're working and developing it. And then once a month we'll do soft skills training during that time too. Well, my older engineers were all saying, "Hey, that's a billable hour. That's
mm,
costing us a lot of money to do that." And after a few months, they recognize the importance of it and they love it. They're some of the
yeah.
best participants now. And it's brought our firm together to have that. And then, of course, we also created an office to where we can have socials here in our office there. And we do a lot more get togethers. But probably one of the most important things we do is that we give back. And we do that through projects that we donate our services. It may be a Boys and Girls Club facility. It may be ball fields for the YMCA. It may be different things like that. But then we also will go out and do community projects. We have a Mission Arlington here that provides for a lot of our families that are
Mm,
down in needs to try to create that. But then the last thing I'll say is that we've got to be mindful to celebrate the wins.
mm,
We have to take time, I think, to do that. And as an example, uh, we had a large master plan development we were designing, and our guys had to put in some extra hours to meet a deadline because the client had changed the design of the facility. So it was an extra effort that we made, and I knew that that's not sustainable. Today you can't be working your people a lot of extra hours. It's again responding to that. So I said, let's do a dinner. Let's have it at one of our local places and let's have the client there too. It'll give them a chance to say thank you to our people that were working on the project, but it also will give them an opportunity to see that this was extraordinary what they did because we had each one of our team members to share what they did on the project. And it was eye-opening to the client to be able to see the effort that was being put. So there were a lot of benefits. Yes, did it help pump up our employees, but also the client recognized the extra effort that we were putting in. But I think that's a step that many companies miss there, and it's not celebrating the wins once a year. I
Mm,
think you've got to find those special moments and stop and celebrate those wins, and it encourages all of us.
yeah. Yeah, I heard one time somebody asked who needs encouragement, and they said anybody who breathes.
Oh, that's a great
Everybody
slogan.
needs encouragement, and I think when I we talk about employee engagement and we talk about performance appraisals and things like that, it's like, we got to get away from the once a year annual. We got to sell, we need to talk about it all the time, and we need to celebrate wins all the time. That's so good. Hey, I want to ask you though. Now that you've published your book, it's been out a couple of months now,
Yes.
and what's something once you publish, like you wrote this book, you spent a lot of time on writing a book, put a lot of thought into it. You probably got a lot of, did a lot of collaboration. You got a lot of perspective. You finally published the book and you're ready to go. And I noticed you got through speaking at the National Medal of Honor Museum, which is cool. I still have not got to visit that yet. I'm looking forward to that. But well, my question is, now that the book's been out and you've had a chance to speak on it, you've got some feedback. What's something you've learned?
Well, I've learned that the topic is something I'm passionate about, and it's been so rewarding that I'm seeing people are passionate. They want unity, and yet they don't think about it. They don't think about, well, what can I do personally?
Yeah.
And so it's been very satisfying to talk about that and again ask the questions. What are the character values that you can adopt that will actually promote unity? What can you say or do at home or in your business or in
Mm.
your nonprofit to help bring people together? And then do you have a plan? Just starting to ask those questions. And so it's been so rewarding. Another thing that I love doing is creating a sense of place.
Mm.
And in fact, that was something that early on many had said I need to write a book about. And there's a little bit of that in this book. But however, unity I think is so far reaching, and I love that topic, and it will be hopefully a movement that me and along with thousands of others can really start because our world runs in cycles. We've seen that in history. And in the 60s, they were burning the flags. We had drugs were rampant, deterioration of the family. And then in the 70s, the ship started getting righted and people started valuing each other and it made such a difference. And now we're back to that point where we're doing things that actually create dissension and division. And yet that hurts our family. We're not productive at work. It hurts our morale. And so we have got to be proactive in creating unity. So I don't know if I hit your question right, Bruce, but you got me started. You asked the right question to get me going. Uh,
No, you absolutely you did. I love that, and you certainly learned how it's even more important than what you even like thought it was. Like, hey, I know this is
yes.
important, and now all of a sudden I'm learning it's even more important, and people are very interested in this. I serving the local SHRM chapter, and then today I get to serve on the state chapter. I'm very part of the National Association for SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management Association. And one of the things that they have been talking about, well, a lot over the last few years is the civility. And when I
Mm.
think about civility, I'm just curious from your perspective, is civility and unity, do those both mean, are those both similar? Do those both mean the same? When you think about, hey, we need to be more civil in the workplace versus, hey, we need to unify. Talk about that.
Civility is one of the first steps there to reaching unity. If we don't treat each other well, how could we possibly think we could be unified?
Yeah.
And so civility is one of those that is, and along with that is respect, civility and respect, because if you don't show respect and you don't have that respect for your fellow worker, it is so hard to forever to take the next step to really be earnestly working together for the good. Because it's when you're not distracted about what that person is going to say or do against you, it makes all the difference when they know that you're pulling for them and not against them. And then you're able to truly focus on what are we supposed to do to be productive instead of, oh no, what is so and so going to say to me today? How am I going to react? And I just can't take it anymore.
Mm,
Think about those thoughts in your mind instead of, wow, I think if we work together, we can make the change in this
mm,
in the design that could really save millions of dollars for our client. You see the difference in that thinking. It's night and day.
yeah.
And and then also when your day is over and you've been productive in your work, you feel better about dealing with your friends and family versus if you've been fighting all day with your office mate. It's a different thing. You're ready to go kick the dog when you go home. It's a it's a terrible thing, and
Yeah.
it's a real contrast there between being productive versus your mind being occupied
Yeah.
with dissension.
This is so good. I always talk about what does success look like, and you just identified that right there is you need to listen to your team. And when they're having those conversations, you know that, hey, we've got a problem here, or hey, we're having success here. Let's lean into this. And so, man, you have shared an incredible amount of information. I cannot wait to share this with my listeners and this podcast episode. And because I know there's people that are going to be wanting to uh, dive into your book and get more of that. I want to shift here to my last question, and then we're going to shift to it's time to accelerate. And my question is, when you were like, as you were, it could have been when you're growing up, it could have been when you were mayor, and I know you got some good advice from the chief of police, but what's some advice that you find yourself sharing often with others these days?
Well, Bruce, you hit on civility there, and so the advice that I am sharing time and time again with my people that I'm working with, young people, is that we need to adopt character values and core values, and that leadership is not sustainable without character values.
Mm,
People will not follow people that are not people of character. And I'll just go to the National Medal of Honor Museum because that is their mission. Their mission that the living Medal of Honor recipients have adopted is that they want to inspire America to adopt the character values
mm,
of integrity, sacrifice, courage, commitment, citizenship, and patriotism. Man, all America
mm,
wants that. When we were raising money for the museum, that message resonated with Democrats, Republicans,
mm,
rich, poor, all economic statuses. People came together on that topic, and yet it's so important that we do that. That we do adopt those character values. Does that mean that we're perfect? No, not
mm,
at all. But people see that you're working at it and that you're
mm,
trying. And then what do people want? I interviewed some Chick-fil-A managers here. Actually, I was talking to them. They had me come and speak to them. But after that, I asked them the question, what are you looking for in leaders that you follow? And they said, we're looking for trust and people that value us. Is
mm,
that not the truth? Oh my
mm,
goodness, and that is so true. We have got to be people of integrity and
mm,
build that trust truly, and then that value them. Yes, we have got to be leaders that care about our people
mm,
and that really want to hear from them and put that ego aside and know that your plan can get better if you use them, or your plan may need to be scrapped because
mm.
they've got a better plan. And that is when a leader suddenly becomes moves from good to great.
Such great advice, man. I got chills. That is so good. I cannot wait to see the Medal of Honor Museum. I got a chance to see kind of a highlight when I went to the Armed Forces Bowl at TCU when I went and watched Oklahoma Navy during the holidays. And we walked through that trailer and I was like, I cannot wait to see it. My grandfather served in the Navy in World War II so, man, this is so good. I appreciate you so much, Jeff. I'm going to ask you a few fun questions. And I gave you some fun questions, but I was sitting there thinking to myself, as I approach lunch here, what's the best place to eat in Arlington?
Oh my, you're going to get me in trouble there, Bruce. We've got a ton of great places. We have a great Italian restaurant, Piccolo Mondo's.
Yeah.
But there's two that I want to share with you that's such a neat story.
Yeah.
Is that here in Arlington, we hosted the Neutral World Series, coming out of the pandemic,
Okay.
and the LA Dodgers were here playing.
Yeah.
And they started looking, the fans really looked for those off the wall mom and pop restaurants.
Yeah.
And they found Hurtado's Barbecue and Prince Lebanese Grill, and they went viral on social media. And both of those guys now, their business went from one small restaurant to Hurtado's having like six restaurants. Taylor Sheridan with Yellowstone discovered him, and now he's got a contract with Taylor Sheridan supplying his beef from 4 Sixes Ranch. And then Prince Lebanese is now developed into one of the biggest caterers
Mm.
around, besides
Wow.
his restaurant there. And so those are some great ones. And don't we all look for those
Yeah.
home-owned mom and pop
I
restaurants that are
love
so
that.
great? And Hurtado's is listed as one of the top barbecue spots in
Yeah.
Texas. So they generally make that. And then Prince Lebanese has expanded their menu, and I think they have the best lamb chops
Yeah.
anywhere. Who would have thought that at a Lebanese restaurant?
I love that. Man, that's exciting. Oh my goodness. Yes, I am going to be checking out those restaurants for sure. Hey, let me ask. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, and we'll conclude here. But I want to just ask you, Jeff. Like you were the mayor for I think it was around 6 years, give or take. What are you most proud of?
Oh, without a doubt, the National Medal of Honor Museum, because it symbolizes working together. Their mission, I think, is so important. They
Yeah.
took it was a 20 city competition, Bruce. And so we were competing against 19 other cities to
Mm,
bring that museum here. And then it's a national museum. It should have been built 100 years ago, but
yeah.
it wasn't. And you may be asking yourself right now, why did they not go to DC? Because it was going to take 20 years to get it built. And many of our Medal of Honor recipients would be gone. They would have passed away by then.
Mm,
So they were looking for, and they thought, well, let's take the museum to the people. And did our citizens not work together? Absolutely. They came together, and then our neighboring cities came in. The whole state of Texas got behind it. And so I'm very proud of what
mm,
that museum is going to do, but also what it symbolizes there, and that is working together to do good. And God made us to live in community.
yeah.
That's where it's at, and I'm very excited about what that museum is going to be. It's different, and it's not a war museum. It's about people. It's
Mm.
about ordinary people choosing to do the extraordinary and choosing courage instead of running away.
This is so good. I am so grateful for your leadership, getting the museum here, being part of that, and just unifying, everyone in on that. That's just wonderful. I love that. Okay, this is my last question. I've asked over 240 guests on my show the last 6 years, and the question is, Jeff, 10 years older, is around the corner knocking at your door, and you're going to get up and go answer that door. What's he going to tell you?
It's going to tell me that I need to be pushing unity that much harder
Mm,
there, and that I am going to be having my my son and daughters. I'm going to be having my grandkids, all with that legacy of being leaders that bring people together, that are
mm.
that bridge that moves people to their purpose.
So good. Man, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we connected and that we got to visit today, and we're going to get to share that with all of the Life in the Leadership Lane listeners. Hey, for those who heard you share some information today, or they're not connected to you yet, or they want to learn more, what's the best way for them to connect with you, Jeff?
Well, they can go to my website, wjeffwilliams.com.
Okay.
They can find me on LinkedIn, W.
Okay.
Jeff Williams. There are a ton of Jeff Williams, but not a ton of W. Jeff Williams.
Oh, okay.
And then the other thing is that go to Amazon. You'll find my book there. I hope you'll read it. I think there'll be nuggets in there for you, but I am just an ordinary person that God is using to
Hmm.
bring people together, and that's what I value. As we're all walking on a cliff, aren't we, as leaders? And we need people to hold us up and keep us from being pushed off. And it's amazing what can happen when people come together and follow the unity blueprint.
Well, again, I appreciate you being on the show. And when all of you out there, when you connect with Jeff or pick up a copy of his book, be sure and when you connect with him, let him know you heard him on Life and Leadership Lane and maybe something he shared. But after you read his book, be sure and go give him a review. And that's always important to the authors to kind of hear perspective around that. And so, again, Jeff, I appreciate you. I cannot wait to continue watching your journey. I know you're going to just really create significance in people's lives. And for that, I say thank you.
Bruce, thank you, and thank you for what you're doing and sharing the viewers so many different things from different people. 240 people. Wow, that's awesome.
Hey, have a great day, man. I'll see you later.